All right, let's roll. We've got four plague marines. They've got things that go thunk thunk. They got sprayer thing. They got other sprayer thing. Um, as you can see, they've been primed in black. They've gotten some green and some white on there. And now it's time to do quite a bit of metallic work. They need some bronze and they need some silver. And in an effort to expand my horizons, picked up some Viejo Metallics pack. I'm curious, most curious, if I can replace Warplock Bronze with whatever Tinny Tin is. Cute name. And then Lead Belcher with Chainmail Silver would be nice. So that's what we're going to do. Scooch all these metallics, these extra ones here. I did pick up a combat patrol for Sisters of Battle. So I've got some Angry Nuns. So these other metallics should come in handy there. The hope here, though, is that Citadel's metallics I like a lot, but because of the pots they're in, they tend to kind of dry out and get super thick, and they're hard to get a brush in there too. And then you end up dipping the brush too far and getting it near whatever that spot where the bristles meet the meat of the brush is, and that's not good for the brush. So I'm hoping, because these come in dropper bottles, I could just give them a shake, put them on the wet palette, and away I go. That's the hope, at least. So we will get rolling with some of that. Give this guy a shake. Let's see. I mean, it looks practically identical on the wet palette to Warplock Bronze. Actually do a little bit of a comparison here. Dab a little out here, and in the process wreck my brush a little bit. But as you can hopefully see when I show you, look at all those neon colors I got on there. Those two look pretty much the same, color-wise, at least from here. This comes out of a bottle, that comes out of a pot. So we shall give it a try. That whole thing should be green, so I'll avoid it a little bit. There's some green I missed on there, but there's plenty of places I can still bronze up. Let's do it. Get a little water on this wet palette. See if this Viejo stuff holds up, which would be nice. I believe it's cheaper. It's definitely cheaper by the ounce. And if it lasts longer and is easier to keep, that would be a big bonus too. Alright, so we've got this little sensor Orby thing right there. Yeah, I do have to get back and green this guy up a bit, but we'll do that in a little bit of time. I am going to do the fronts of these sprayer super soaker blort things in bronze. I like how it looks so far. It's a little bit lighter. I think if I wanted to get this identical to Warplock Bronze, I'd actually have to either dry it out, maybe add a little bit of black wash to it. But I might actually like it better. TBH. We'll see. I got a ways to go with this stuff, but it's a little bit lighter, but it seems to have a little bit of more natural shine to it. Obviously, this is about as dark as you get with metallics. So a little bit lighter is probably a good thing. I do desperately like how dark. So Warplock Bronze is a little darker and a little redder. This isn't quite there, but I might warm up to it. It paints better, I can tell you that. It's a lot smoother. I haven't had to add a bunch of water to it and then be like, oh, I added too much water to it. Now I gotta go back and dip back into the pot and try to get more of this sludge out. It's not sludgy at all. Fingers are still a little bit scorched from the experiments last night. I did actually burn my fingers by mixing crazy glue with paint. Little smoke out of brush, but hey, that's chemical science. I feel like we learned a lot there. Certainly fun, made for some cool effects. Get this little handle here. Get it on this side too. All the way around on the knob that holds it. Back edge all the way around. The front edge. Obviously this is like brand new paint, but it is pretty darn smooth. I don't need to glop a ton of it on the brush to get the job done. I like it. I'm going to do that overstrap thing too with this. That's good paint. It's funny, in the last week I've started stretching out a lot more in terms of my paints. I've got that neon stuff from, what's it even called? FX Floor. Pretty neat stuff. Got a whole set of these guys. Something or other 75. Scale 75 is the name of the company. Those worked out well. I like them a lot. That was an attempt to replace Tesseract Glow that I use a lot. And I think if I either mix or in 2 runs do scale 75 stuff in green and then yellow, I think I can probably replicate it. And once again, it's just one of those cases where it's a little easier to use. So that could be yet another win. I am going to leave this guy till I green him up just a little bit more at this point. I don't want to go too close to the other stuff that he's got going and get his little dongle there. This guy can sit aside for a minute. So far, the verdict on this tinny tin, despite the silly name, is pretty good stuff. Brush is on nice. I'm barely adding any water to this, which is a good thing. Hopefully you cannot hear my child screaming in the background. The kid's fine. She just does not like to go to sleep. And I'll go over the little things that are like boils in this armor with a whole bunch of other passes and stuff, so no worries there. We're just patiently getting around all this trim. I think all I got to do is get through these last 4 or so Plague Marines, and I'm going to move on to my sisters. That will be a ride for sure. I do not look forward to learning to paint human faces, but that's part of the point of it, is to go in there and get some level up, get some XP, and face my fears. I have been desperately hiding in Death Guard territory, where the faces are freaky and generally covered. I feel like I have a better knack for horror painting than I do for stylized faces. So we're going to put it to the test, because you don't learn to drive by leaving the car in park. I absolutely love their aesthetic. It's just like absolutely like gothic Catholic to the 10th degree. Skulls, cherubs flying around, braziers full of holy fire. Like, that stuff just sounds dope. I'm going to hit the top machinery on this gun as well. I do want to leave most of the gun green, but getting some of this bronze in really does like make a little bit of the model pop. If you're going to work with really, really sort of dark, grimy colors, you want something to pop a little bit. I'm absolutely warming up to this tinny tin. I believe I'm talking about paint performance, but does perform nicely. It's easy to use. It jumps off the brush nicely. I don't feel like I'm forcing anything. Just go to there. That'll be fine. A lot of that ugliness is going to be taken care of when the washes come out. So don't bug out too much. We're still in that early phase of not happy looking model. All my patience has grown 100-fold since I started. This thing is still stomach turningly bad looking right now until it gets some washes. I'm just more tolerant of that state than I used to be. Much more. Much more. I think, as I often say, I think I got everything, but I never do when I say that. So just keep moving around here and get the inside of this pauldron. The inside of this one? Nope, of course not. So that's all nice and shiny. All right, that guy should be set for now. More bronze. I did actually get to play a game of Warhammer today. It's a tiny game. It's a 4-way match, as the beginners do on the Saturdays at the local store. I being the beginnerest of the beginners, but it allows new folks to just pile in, pardon the pun, be able to play with experienced folks, and a lot of the best way to do that is just get as many new people as possible going at the same time, which I agree with. It was cool. So there's 2 guys that basically run it, and they're pretty darn good. They got all the rules locked into their head, which is nice. I mean, it's not that they don't look stuff up, but like they're definitely not me who has to look at everything up every single time. And like they're not there to crush anyone. So like if you're about to make a stupid move, stupid's kind of a hard word, but you're about to make a move that is not well thought, to be like, well, just so you know, you could also. And a lot of times that's nice because it just allows you to sort of think about things, try things out, but also have a little bit of a safety net so you don't just get totally mauled. Though I did stick with 500 points. It basically ran Mortarion and Typhus with 10 Poxwalkers. And turn 1, Typhus and his Poxwalkers almost went down completely. I stuck his nose out, and the buddy next to me was playing Drakari that I've never faced. They have guns, a lot of guns. And they shot up all my Poxwalkers. So basically I had a bolt. I ran home. By ran, I mean walked at a speed of 4 back around the corner that I stuck my head out of. Got some Poxwalkers back the next turn, sort of laid in ambush. Did the Typhus thing, but they eventually fell. But Mortarion did well. And truth be told, like Typhus and crew did hold that area plugged up pretty nicely for a while. Mortarion went to work, chomped up all kinds of stuff. It felt good. I did not win, but I had a really, really good time, and it was well played. And there's something interesting about playing a 4-way match because you have more than one enemy. I mean, it was a free for all, but you really have to think about how much you extend yourself because a lot of people are going before your turn comes up again. A lot. Only so much of this trim in here I can actually see and get effectively, so I don't want to like overdo it and bonk the model in a bunch of places with tinny tin paint. Just be patient. Take your time. Don't paint blind. Don't paint around weird corners you can't see well. pretty thorough. Scooch this to the middle a little bit better for you. But yeah, I'm still struggling with like keeping everything in mind while playing. A lot of dice rolls, and then a lot of auxiliary rules on top of it. And the dice rolls aren't at any point on their own super complicated. Um, they're not amazingly intuitive either. It's just sort of easy to get a little bit overwhelmed. So, tinny tin chimney. Toot toot. Yeah, I was up against Drukari, Chaos Space Marines, and Tyranids. In the end, the Drukari definitely took all the points. That was they were able to get around and do stuff. I knew I was going to be in rough shape for points no matter what, because I only had 2 units, and I'm Death Guard, so I'm super slow. But I needed to figure out like I needed to play Mortarion once, like, just to have any understanding of how what his capabilities are. So I needed to take him out for a spin, and I just wanted to because I spent a lot of time painting him. He's a heck of a lot of fun. He can get a lot of work done. He can get out there and get down to business. He crushed a lot of hopes and dreams. I have finished the End and the Death 2. Finished it. It's brutal. It is brutal. Back to reading The Buried Dagger. Script writing for some analysis video I'm going to do about the Horus Heresy, but just about the beginning and the end of the Horus Heresy, because I've pretty much only read the beginning and the end. But seeing as that entire magnum opus is coming to a close soon, volume 3 of The End of the Death, I figured it's a good time to do some analysis of it. Because obviously, I like to do lore stuff. Yes, get these little fan turbine guys. Actually, I should probably get those in Lead Belcher. Whatever. It's cool. Get this grenade. That's what I'll do. There we go. Give my armor a rest in a second. Alright, that's in pretty good shape. I think I'm probably going to leave the Lead Belcher stuff to the end. That's sort of a process flow that also ends up getting Typhus Corrosion and Rise of Rust. Tea. I do love tea. Scooch over here and click a thing real quick. All right, not too much crazy on this model. Give this brush a little wash. It's good every once in a while. Just rinse the entire thing off, give it a little scrape down. Did spend some time washing my brushes today, like thoroughly brush soap the whole 9 yards. I need to do more often. I'm truly cruel to them. Toddler than I am. Yeah, I'm pretty psyched. The Sisters of Battle Combat patrol. Comes with a tank or a transport. I can't tell if it's tank or transport. I think it's a transport, but it'll be good to paint a blocky vehicle again. Excited for that. I was tempted to also pick up an exorcist tank today, but I was like, you know what? You got this whole combat patrol. Just suck it up, get through it. I've been doing a very good job of painting models before I get more models for the most part. I should probably stick with that. I want to bronze up these little jump pack things. I don't know. Oh wait, I will bronze up this skull though. Yoink. Top of that guy's a sensor. Chains. There we go. Excuse me. All along that edge. Get the inside here. Some nice shine. Wasn't so bad. Get the underneath part between these teeth. I think I went over and I shouldn't have, but I'll live. Yeah. You're getting in there. Well, that's all right. I like it. I like it a lot. Fulgen's weird on the bottom. That's a maggot. Oh, Death Guard, you're so silly. Hiding maggots and stuff. I definitely squeezed so much paint out onto this wet palette, more than I definitely needed. My point is to conserve paint and not go as crazy with it by switching to something in the squeeze bottle. I probably shouldn't squeeze the living daylights out of it when I put it on the palette. I think it's actually in like pretty paint's in pretty good texture zone to not actually need any real water added to it. I like it a lot. There we go. Dots gotten. Got those dots. Get some of the metal work on here done. Just see if I can find a good way to hold this guy. There we go. There we go. You know what? I am going to get one of those holders because I have them. I should use them. Hold my models. BRB. Like, you ever wonder why your arm's shaking? Well, it's because you are holding this thing in an extremely fatiguing manner. Not that way. One smaller. Hopefully I can get this thing to function properly. There we go, buddy. Safe and sound. Much better. I feel better already. I'm definitely missing a bit of white on here in a few spots. I think this is the guy I finished up with last night, and I was like, man, I'm tired. Call it. But I did get a lot done last night. Got the Demogorgon done. Quick fast on a Fury. Able to get a decent looking portal underneath him. Only letting a little bit of smoke out in this room, which is good. All the way around. Underneath here, I've got my 3 scarabs, I think, done. But the green is pretty green. So those guys are either going to get yellow or a little bit of Tesseract glow just sort of leaked around it. Kind of like a wash. I may just take the yellow, just add some Lamian medium to it. Get things nice and smooth and runny. Band around here. There we go. I do like, oh man, I'm so liking this paint. I don't think I've ever used Metallics by Viejo before. Using, oh, it's a nice performing paint. Trust the paint, perhaps not the painter. That's all right. That's going to all get squirreled away when the washes come. Just wish someone would come around and wash the filth from the streets. Was that taxi driver in the beginning? I think so. It's a great line. Alrighty, here we go. Looking sharp, buddy. Looking sharp. Just peek around him a little bit, make sure I'm not missing too much. Anything else in the thump gun there? Nope, I just got to get the front of this piece. Missing some green too. It's all right. Very unclear as to whether or not I'm doing this part right, but it's all good. Let's get it in there. There we go. There you go, buddy. Try to get under here a little bit. Just a tad. Out spreading tinny tin all over the place. Yeah, not too shabby. Not too shabby. This thing is like a death's head grenade, and it's a sensor on this side too. We'll just get in there real quick on him. I think just not hit that spike too much. I think we're getting to wash time. I think we are. I'm going to just clean up another couple super tiny spots. Super tiny. Got the skulls on his pauldron. Grab a little bit, just a dab of wraithbone. This stuff is in rough shape in that pot. It looks like custard. Wraithbone, why are you so ugly? Alright, so I just need to tap the top of these skulls a little bit just to get them to pop out. Paint will settle down in a minute, I assure you. Everything around it's going to be wild, so I'm not too hung up on it. When I say wild, I mean the grime I'm going to add is going to absolutely overshadow that a bunch. Alrighty, get this guy off of here. Let him sit. I should probably put the Death Forest green on this guy where it goes before I keep moving. tweezers over there, because they're pretty dangerous tweezers. Pretty darn dangerous. Yeah, give this guy a shake. I shook him earlier, but it's like fireworks going off somewhere. Not sure what that's for. More power to you. Not sure what you're going nuts for tonight. Another little dab. Get some water. Get too much water. Like, this is the part that I don't enjoy about Citadel paint, is going back and forth from this pot. Trying to get like the right consistency without totally dunking the brush. I mean, it's my lack of skill, but still stuck doing it. That part stinks. There we go. Alrighty. Get the green part of this pauldron done. I think I just got tired last night. It was a long week. Sometimes you just want to pack it up. Call it a day. This is a Death Forest green. This is just sets a baseline to go below the wonderful Slimy Grime dark that this is going to get hit with eventually. Because I primed it in black. It was primed in black. Here. And I think I will have to leave this guy for last because this green's going to have to dry quite a bit. I still have a little bit of metallics to do over that. So this guy I may just leave aside overnight so I don't start overdoing it, over mixing, working on top of wet paint. As much as I get horribly impatient, it's never really been a good thing for me to do, is work all the way on top of wet paint. I do it all the time. I gotta mature a little bit. It's about time. Gorgety thing. His neck goes. And I do have to remember, these guys are eventually gonna need heads. Someday, boys. Doing Sinking Man's job. I'm not worried about missing on these. This will get metallics and white later. But yeah, this green step's gotta happen. It's gotta happen. It's overdue. Wait to get these shooty boys on the board. Pretty awesome against infantry. Pretty darn awesome. There we go. Front of that will be metal. A little strap across this thing, but all that stuff will be metal too. Stinky boys. All right. Flip this guy over. Always check the underside of these things. Always. All right, that's all tubing. Don't have to worry about that. This big round guy I'm going to get, though. Get you in the proper colors, buddy. I'm just going to hit the whole thing because any of the auxiliary metallics will go over this no problem. No worries. Do need to sneak in here a little bit. Take your time, glop it in. Let the paint do most of the work. How's that looking? I got to get under there a little also. Always these little spots. Get around this thing. If I choose to metalize it later, so be it. Leaving a bunch of black on here is never a good idea. Alright, so that Polgen's good. Backpack is relatively good. So I'm going to get tinned over. Those will need white, but that's for another time. Stuff needs metallics, but that's for another time. I can leave this guy down here. Alright. The moment, I'm not going to say you all have been waiting for, but I certainly have been waiting for it. Dump this. No, I'm not going to use that guy. That guy is full of garbage. Use that guy. Better yet. Yeah. I need to grind things up. I need... Oh, this stuff is thick. This is my Death Guard sauce. Maybe I'll get a beater brush for this. Yeah, that's a beat up brush. Look at that guy. That guy's struggling. You will be sacrificed to the Slimy Grime Dark. There we go. Should probably... Oh my god, it's so thick. Alright, I should open up the other. I have a new one. I have a new one. Ta-da! So I'm going to open the new one. What I think I did is multiple times while I was using this stuff, I didn't shake it enough, so now it's just sludge at the bottom. And it's great because it's got a bunch of particles in it. Give it a ton of texture. If you don't shake it enough, eventually it literally is just mud on the bottom. So, I mean, I don't know if you can tell, but like that crap. That ain't paint. That ain't paint no more. It's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It's beautiful. It's grimy. But, yeah. It's just... Get some liquid in here. That stuff. And that's how I make my Death Guard ugly. That's how we do it. That texture's great though. I love it. I love it. Put it on here, it just gloms in. And you kind of almost treat it like a contrast paint, not quite a wash. When this grime gets in there, it's not the streaking stuff. It's just this very, it hugs every nook and cranny. It gets all up in there. It's good. It's good stuff. How I got into AK, and it's funny because I got this stuff before I even got the streaking grime. It was like the first AK product I got. I just got it on a whim. I didn't know any better. It is gross. Absolutely grody. But over that Death Forest green, it just this nice murky pond water, vibrant but still blech look to it. I dig it. It is grimy. Algae-like. Very algae-like. That is what we are going for. Cycle of life. Big old pond. Polywogs. Death guard. You name it. It's all in there. There we go. Scooch in there between there and the pauldron. The side of this little guy's belly. Sneak in there a little bit. You absolutely don't need to brush this stuff on. You can kind of just touch it into spots and let it eke and crawl where it needs to go. You might end up doing a little bit of cleanup work on like edge metallics and stuff, but it's all good. Slimy Grime Dark. I am going to eventually try Slimy Grime Light. It's like way lighter. Maybe I'll mix them at some point. But for context, that's Slimy Grime Light next to Slimy Grime Dark, so I gotta be careful with this. That's like Kermit the Frog grime. Well, we'll just keep dabbing this grime in. I like to do this before I do any of my like lead belcher and then rusty stuff. I can do this all the way up next to, and I am doing it right next to like all that bronze. But I like to do the silver stuff after it. Silver-ish. Anything that's like weapon metal that's going to get a rust treatment, do that entirely after. This stuff does sort of splotch around a little bit, and you'll absolutely see it if you get this green glop anywhere near what you're rusting. It just won't look right. All right, one of them glopped. That stuff does take a little while to dry. You do have to watch your fingers, especially if your Death Guard have a bunch of white on them, like mine do. There to start. Get you thinking about what you've done. Stuff is so alive. So grossly alive. And you'll see once it dries, it doesn't dry like, it dries flatter than like a matte finish. It's like got the tiniest bit of grit particle stuff, like super fine. But it gets its own like texture because of it. It's really quite beautiful. If you're into that sort of Death Guardy thing. Quite nice. I'm really just dabbing that gently. Gently. Scooch over here and just give this guy a little ee. There we go. So if a little of this gets on your bronze, it's really super not a big deal. You can either go back and fix it or throw your hands up in disgust and not really worry about it. Stuff is supposed to look old, weathered. The green and the bronze work well together in that regard. They look pretty nice right up against each other. And just dabbing it. So the other thing is, because these backpacks get it, the reason I'll do my lead belcher, silvery, weapony stuff, I also use it on those hoses. And they're always going to get some amount of green on those hoses in this pass because you have to put this stuff on kind of thick. So that's the other reason that I sort of like, I'm cool with doing bronze because most of my paint job bronze is trim stuff like this, all that big stuff there. If you get a little green on it, you're pretty okay. Because I'm not going to do any additional effects on the bronze stuff. I'm just going to leave that as is. Just keep dabbing this AK stuff in here. It is gross, but it does the job. Slimy Grime Dark. My precious Death Guard secret. I mean, it's not a secret because I say it every time I do it. Invoke it. My Death Guard isn't that good looking, but I do love this stuff. I'm very fond of it. Another guy, fire him up. Someday I'll actually be able to shoot a bit with my Plague Marines. As you saw, I went over all of that filigree work. I am going to make sure that I don't over chunk it, but that's going to get metallics over it later. So I'm not worried as long as I don't lose the texture. And you got to be careful with this stuff because it will wipe out some amount of texture. It's that thick. It's not that it's that thick. It's not paint thick. It's particle thick. A lot of stuff coming along for the ride, which I guess you're supposed to use this stuff on like boat models and stuff that have been sitting in the water for a long time. I like to think this guy's been sitting in the water for a long time. Primordial soup. Doing Papa Nurgle proud. Spin him around, have a look-see. Any spots you haven't hit. This whole knee. And I'll handle the skull on his knee later, after this stuff is done. There you go. And once again, all you gotta do is really just tap with this stuff. It finds where it needs to go. It's like that weird stuff that Slurt lays down. Siege at the end of Lord of the Silence. It just creeps and crawls through the crevices. Like I'm not even really touching the brush. I'm touching the beaded up grime. And it's just going where it needs to go. Dab it, and it'll find its way. It's a mind of its own. So in here and back, there we go. Boink, just poke some in there, let it go. Those hoses will get some lead belcher-ish stuff later. Dab this in between here. This stuff, and yeah, kind of poke around. I'll end up giving this a minute or two to chill out when I'm done. It'll poke around too much. Whoops. Main com. But this green stuff on white, not the best look. Not the best look at all. Of course, I've smushed it around a ton. You know what? That guy's just going to be a little grimier than the others. Just a more devoted Death Guard. Alright. This. At the risk of screwing everything up. Yeah, the paint looks dry enough. I'll hit this guy too. And not drop him wholesale into the muck. I get him onto this stand, let him sit for a minute, wash this brush out a little bit. Stretch my neck out. It has been a week. Be hot. It is hot. Let's do this. This guy's got all kinds of green going on. So all of those little nooks and crannies in the armor that's gonna like have bleed through and stuff like that going on, let's go over it with this green ahead of time. I do this stage first. I used to do a bunch of detail and then try to add this grime stuff to it, and it just did not work out. Of course, I still haven't hit this guy with all his metallics, but that's life. Do it live. Amazing the stuff you forget to do when you're tired, incoherent, and just want to paint for the therapy sake of it. It is very therapeutic. I highly recommend, if for some reason you're watching this and you don't paint, that you go out and buy a miniature and try it. It makes me, believe it or not, despite all the stress of painting super tiny things, it's amazingly relaxing. Get into a sort of different mental state while you do it. And there's an amazing feel of accomplishment when you're done. There you go. It's very personal. If you go look at tons of pictures and models, everybody's stuff looks different. Even people very specifically trying to do the stuff on the side of the box. It's always their own take of it, which I find very satisfying. All right, green glop for everything on back here. I used to be a little bit more flagrant with how I like whipped the brush around when I was doing this stuff because it's super sloppy, and then I realized I started buckshot spraying everything on my workspace, including like other models behind it. I was like flicking the brush so much, so now I just chill out. Just take it easy. All right, guys, slimy grimy. All right, so this stuff can sit aside, chill. I think the next step, stuff might be wet too long for me to really mess around anymore tonight. It might be cooked. Might be there. Look around here. No, I can get in there. If I'm careful, which I rarely am, I can get Seraphim Sepia everywhere it needs to go on this model. Get these washes done. The main true wetness, this stuff is wet, don't get me wrong, but the real problem is the sort of in that hole where the head plops in. That won't be dry till tomorrow. Faux show. This white stuff, good to go. It's funny, when I was in the shop waiting to get a game going today with folks, I felt like such a proper nerd. Heard some guy say Seraphim Sepia, and I was like, oh! And I like walked over and like butted in on a conversation, introduced myself. How nerdy is that? I love that wash. Felt good doing it too, though. Apparently, there's another night of the week that I can go in and play, which is good. Saturdays are rough. It's a long day. Trying to rest up on Saturday a lot. It's a pretty popular store on Saturdays, so like getting a game going at any particular time is like, it's more like you just show up and hope. And it works out most times, but like you could be there for a very long time and still just play like one 500-point game. Whereas if I go on a weeknight, it sounds much more like if you show up on time, you're probably getting a game right out the gate. Look at that. Look at the difference. If I keep this thing in the camera, you know, one leg washed, one leg not. All the difference in the world. This is where the model starts coming together. Seraphim Sepia is a pretty dainty wash. knock your whites down. It doesn't do all that much. Everything else. It's a pretty light wash. I like it for that reason. This little horn thing coming out of his pauldron. That'll probably get some skeleton horde near the bottom as well, but a little Seraphim Sepia. It's a nice choice. Boop, let it drip down. Get it nice and stained there. Boop, hit the teeth. Gnarly teeth. With a little bit more. Those will also probably get skeleton hoarded. But yeah, as you can see, washes definitely matter, and those will cure in. Get real sticky and nice in there. They'll no longer look super duper white. Number 2. There we go. More washing. Gotta be wary of that camera. I am getting drowsy. At that point in the week, models don't stay on camera very easily. It's freaking hard, man. It's fun, but it is challenging. I have to stretch my back out a little bit again. Old man problems. All over there. All those good bits. And yeah, I'm going over that tentacle. I'll hit that thing with a bunch of other stuff later. Probably get like Gilliman flesh. I might even get Bugman's glow on it. It's okay if I'm just wiping through, just passing by this wash. It's not very dark. Look at that guy. Yeah, now you look like you've been in the warp for a long time. Wait till you get some Agrax on you, buddy. Dab these skulls a little bit. Get a little on those teeth. Proper smoker's teeth going. All these little spots that are always tough to see, but then when they finally show, you're like, ooh, it's screaming white. The one danger when you're doing grim dark stuff is if you miss anything that's white, it's going to stick out on you. It's going to show you the way. There we go. I got these skulls, just give them a dab. Actually, just hit them with one, not huge, but moderately sized, sort of drop around them. Spike. These skulls. These skulls again. I think we're in good shape with this guy. Set him down. Alright, I think this is probably going to be the last model that I hit tonight, because the very last dude is just like super wet. You know what? Yeah, I got a tap. This guy's too wet too. No more space to paint without thoroughly risking thumbprinting all over the place and messing it up. So I'm going to call it there. I don't know. Off camera, I may end up hitting these guys later tonight. But I don't want to take a super long break on a stream, and I'm super tired, and this stuff is in pretty good shape. So if you see here, like, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. This is where the sidewalk ends in terms of Seraphim Sepia. So we're in good shape. Next time, it'll pretty much be like metallics and rust. It'll be whatever wash I end up doing on the green. And then I'll just have to paint some heads. Snip them out, sand them down, paint them, toss them on, base them, and call it. Anyhow, thanks a bunch for hanging out. I'm going to peace out and play some video games. Have a good night. Bye-bye.